thank you so much for joining us. So please introduce yourself to the people. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hi guys, Teboho Phuthi. I don't like saying my name in English because my fiance says I say it wrong. when I say it in
Oh,
English.
you're engaged. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm engaged. Thank you.
Congrats.
So yeah, Teboho Phuthi, and I'm from Bethlehem. I was born there, not really raised there, but yeah. Anyway, long story short, I now stay in Odendagsrest. I recently moved actually. And what do? I serve God. That really is what I do, because I recently also resigned from my job because I wasn't happy there, and because I really want to serve God to my fullest without any interruptions, So yeah, that is what I do.
Well, that's very interesting to say that you're serving God. But let's take it all the way back. Let's take it all the way back to before you even worked. You're in high school, and now you must choose what you're going to do. What did you want to become?
Growing up, I wanted to be a doctor, and my second option was law. And yeah, both of those options didn't work out. And
Would you say that you wanted to do law and become a doctor because of the financial security it comes with, or was it naturally just a thing of I was interested in these things?
Initially, I wanted to be a doctor because of the money, but then as I grew up, I realized that I like helping people.
Okay.
So it became more about wanting to help people more than about the money.
The money, okay.
But yeah, you can still help people without being a doctor.
Yes,
So yeah.
actually you can. So now you're done with high school, what are you doing with your life? What happened? Did you study? What you wanted? What happened?
I didn't. After high school, what happened was in matric I got like a scholarship to study law, but it turned out it wasn't such a great opportunity. You know when something looks good on the surface, but when you unpacked it, it's actually a lot of crap.
It was too good to be true, yeah.
Yeah, it was that. So I just left the scholarship, and then I played around. I basically had a gap year after matric, and then after that I went to a TVET college. At the time there were still FET colleges. I went to a TVET college. It didn't work out, and then later that year I spoke to my mom for me to look for a job, to actually quit school and then get a job.
Get a job, yeah.
And then she's like, if I get a job, then I can quit school. So I got a job, my first job ever, as a sales consultant at the gym. And that's where my life really just started, becoming what it is now.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, at the TVET college you were doing like engineering, chemical engineering and all of those things. And now the job that you got is like sales consultant, which is like completely different.
It is.
How? Why? What happened for you to get to that point?
While I was at the TVET college, I realized that I actually hated chemical engineering. So that's one of the reasons why I left. And the second reason was I just didn't understand the whole system of how, the marks and whatever worked. So I was like, let me just get out of the situation and do something else. And the reason why I got the job in sales is because I knew the manager at the gym. So, the connection.
It must be nice, eh?
Yeah, so that's how I got the job as a salesperson. And I started working there in the last quarter of 2016. And yeah, and then during that time, I found myself, I wasn't looking for it, it found me actually. A learnership to study chemical plant operations found me, and because God thinks he's funny, I found myself back doing what I actually
ran away from.
Yeah. So yeah, in 2017 I had like the whole learnership thing, and then 2018 I got permanent, and I hated my time there. I really hated the place. It wasn't just toxic physically, but it was also toxic spiritually and emotionally. And that's one of the reasons why I resigned from the place, besides the fact that I want to serve God unhindered. I just needed to leave that place because I was at a point where I was starting to lose sight of who I really am, and so that's why I had to leave the place.
So how did you know that it was like toxic spiritually, emotionally? How did you pinpoint, okay, this right here is just toxic and I can't?
How did I pinpoint? Okay, first of all, there was a time in 2018, I realized it this year actually, that there was a time in 2018 where I almost went into depression because of that place. Because I just, when you're not yourself and people around you can also see, something is, because my fiance always said to me, like recently, she said to me that I have lost like that light about me, that spark about me. It's not there anymore. And she thought it was the business that I had that got me to that point. But I realized that it was actually my job, because in 2018 I almost fell into depression because of it. And one of the reasons why it was as toxic as it is because it was an environment full of men, right? Just men. And old, some of them are really old. And so their way of thinking and my way of thinking, especially being the person that I am. So I was just like...
And you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So.
Exactly. So that place was just not for me.
So you mentioned that you have a business or businesses, or you had. Please walk us through the whole businesses or business you've had or you have. I'm not sure.
In 2018, early 2018, I started a business, a transport business. Initially, I was just helping a lady, and then I ended up helping like over 30 people. And at some point, I realized that I need to formalize it and actually turn it into a business. So that's what happened. I turned it into a business. It was both a good idea and a bad idea, because during the time, I've since closed the business, but during the lifespan of the business, there was a time when I was making $1,000,000. I'm sorry, I paused.
Okay, so basically life happened, South Africa, load shedding just happened, and unfortunately there is a huge change in lighting, but when will that ever stop us? No, talking about
my businesses.
Yes, your businesses, and you mentioned the one where you were helping people and then initially turned into a business.
So the transport business. So I was helping one lady, and then I ended up helping like over 30 people. And before load shedding happened, I was saying that there was a time when I was making like 10 grand from the business, right?
A month.
But a month. But from that 10 grand, obviously, I still have to spend on fuel and whatever. And I had even hired someone to drive for me. Like this year alone, this year was a good year for the business, but a bad year as well. The thing about the business was that as much as I was helping someone, right? Well, people now, as much as I was helping those people, when I started the business, I didn't start it with God. As much as I had good intentions at heart, I didn't start it with God. Because I remember my fiance asking me, even the other business, the one where I was selling chicken, it was also about how the business idea came was, I always wished when I was at the TVET college, I saw how students have a lot of money. So I always wished, God, can you just give me an idea for me to harness this money from these people, but without harming them, So that's where I got the whole chicken idea business. I'm not gonna share the idea, but anyway. So I started that, and it also had good intentions, but I didn't start it with God, And so my fiance was asking me, why is it that the businesses didn't work out? So God says to me, the reason why these businesses didn't work out, as much as you had good intentions at heart, I wasn't there. You only wanted to include me in the middle.
When now it's becoming shaky, now you're like, God.
And it's like trying to build a house, and then you're like, oh shoot,
There's
we
no
have to put the foundation,
Yeah.
So it's not gonna work. The house is gonna collapse anyway. So that's what happened. The businesses were they were just set up for failure.
And essentially that's what happens in life as well. Like sometimes people try to do this life thing alone, and then halfway you're like, ish, but there's a person who can actually, you're like, hey God. But then God is like, but then why now?
So working for God, this is the thing. I've come to the realization that we're here for God. That's why we're here. That's why we exist. We're really just here. We're all meant to serve God, but in our different spheres. Being an employee does not mean you can't serve God. It's just for me that doesn't work. That's not my journey. And that's how my journey has been made clear, really, because I've realized that people think that money is everything, and it really isn't. Money does make the world go round. Don't get it twisted. Money does make the world go round, but money isn't everything. I have a friend of mine who, at some point last year, he had like 60 grand in his account, and he was at the brink of depression. I have a former colleague of mine who, that old man has money, shame. Like, that man has money, but he's one of the most miserable men that I know, So for me, that really just added to my unhappiness at the place, really. But otherwise, it just also got me to the realization, you can have all the money in the world, but if you're
And
not
still get
fulfilled,
happy, yeah.
if you're not fulfilled, then what's the point?
Yes.
And I was at that point where, okay, Shapu, Gaspana, I have a nice car, I stay at a flat, I don't depend on anyone, but, and then what? You know? Because for me, I feel like there's more to life. And for me, I'm not happy, I'm not comfortable just surviving, I'm not comfortable just living life like everybody else is living their lives, you know? And so that's where the whole thing of serving God came, where I think around last year, it was last year when God gave me this vision of having a lifestyle center, right? And this happened when I went to Kempton Park. So at this place that I went to, there was in the same yard, there's a car wash, there's a hair salon, there's a food joint, nyana, and then that's all they had. So I came back from that place really impressed, and I was like, I need to start something like this, but have it be a place where people who don't drink can go, you know. But if you drink, then you're still welcome, but we're not gonna serve you alcohol, you know. So I had this idea of having that lifestyle center whereby in the same yard you have a car wash, you have a hair salon, you have a food joint, it can be a cafe or whatever, you know. And then you also have a playroom for kids where on Saturdays the whole family can come through. The wife is doing the hair, the guys with the gents braaiing while the car's getting washed and the kids are playing, you know. Having a place like that, you know. And so I thought, well, I needed a lot of money to do that, because I mean you have to build the place. So I thought, I need a lot of money to do this, I'm not going to do it now. And then this year, I think it was around September, we had like a movie night at church, an outdoor movie night. And when I came back from that movie night, I couldn't sleep. And little did I know that God wanted to have a conversation with me. Because this is the thing, God will always speak when you're alone. Even with Jesus Christ, when he wanted to pray, he would go up the mountain and pray on his own, you know. So God always speaks to you when you're alone, when everything else is quiet and you can just hear him. So little did I know that in my insomnia, God just wanted to speak to me. And what God spoke to me on that day is really what defined me to the point where I am now, because he gave me that idea of having a lifestyle center. He gave me that, but just he refined it, you know. And and when God refines something, I mean, it can only be great.
Okay, guys, we apologize for the inconsistency in lighting, but it really isn't
Your fault.
us. Yeah, like it was beyond our control. You know, South Africa, man, load shedding happens, and it is what it is, but we're going to embrace the challenges. So we're just going to finish up the rest of the interview.
Okay. My advice really is that be comfortable in who you are. And you can only be comfortable in who you are if you know who you are. And knowing who you are also means knowing who you are, starting from, like you were saying, starting from your background, knowing who you are at home, understanding who you are at home, and being comfortable in that, because that's where it starts. They say charity begins at home.
It really does.
That's what it really is, you know. So you need to be comfortable in who you are, where you come from, and where you've been. And once you're comfortable in that, almost nothing can shake you. And it's not an easy process. And this is the thing about life. Like I said earlier on, is that when you wake up from bed, it's a process. You don't just jump up in bed, you know. So everything is a process, and you can't just want to fast forward to a point where everything is just smooth sailing, you know. But everything is a process. And what I also told you guys is that you need to embrace the season that you're in. You know, as much as you're comfortable in who you are, also embrace the season that you go through, because you'll go through seasons in life. I remember the night I handed in my resignation letter. That night I had a dream, and in the dream, I was walking, and then under my foot, right? And the bottle was as long as my pinky. That's how long the bottle was.
That's crazy.
I know. And it was painful, and I took the bottle out, and then I bled, and then the bleeding stopped. So because I understand who I am, and I know I'm a prophet as well. So I take my dreams very seriously, like especially dreams like that. I want to understand what it means. So I asked God, okay, so I had this dream, what does it mean? And then God was like, that dream, the answer that I got, it really blew my mind. The answer that I got was that bottle that was in my foot was where I was working. It was my job. It was a pain, you know. That's what it was.
and taking it out, I'm going to bleed for a while, but the bleeding won't stop. So even now, yes, I've left my job and I'm confident in who I am, and I'm confident in the vision that God has given me and what God has called me to. Because the other thing is that with God's purpose comes God's provision. So I know that, but I know that I'll still be bleeding at some point, but the bleeding won't stop. It won't happen. I won't bleed forever, you know. And the only way I will survive the bleeding that's coming is being comfortable in who I am, being comfortable in God's promises as well. If there's a storm, the tree won't start trying to get out and uprooting itself and running away. You know, it stands firm because it knows where position you know. So remain rooted in who you are and what you stand for. You don't have to be Christian. You can be Muslim, you can be whatever faith it is that you belong to, but just remain rooted in who you are and what you stand for.
And you saying that, like, you know, when God says do something, he'll provide. It also reminds me of that verse, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. I feel like we often take it weirdly because we think that the weapons are not going to form.
Exactly.
But it says that they shall not prosper.
Exactly. The weapons will be there.
Yeah.
You know, the weapons will be there, but they won't prosper.
And then to people who are there, like, now I'm done with high school, or I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. Like, I don't know. What would you say to them? Because sometimes, like your case, school didn't work out.
It really did.
Right?
I tried.
And now, how would you advise somebody? Because sometimes there is that pressure from parents, from society, that you have to go to school, you have to get a degree to make it in life.
For me, I always ask people who think that school is the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
How many people, from the top of your head, can you think of that went to school but are unemployed? You know? So for me, it's not even about getting a job. For me, it's not even like I said, where I am in life now, I just understand life differently. I understand that I used to preach this scripture to people a lot. Matthew 6:33, seek first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and everything else will be added unto you. And I used to preach it a lot, but I didn't understand it then the way I understand it now. And for me, the way I understand it now is that put God first, you know, put God above everything else, and everything will just fall into place. Things will just happen on their own. Like you were saying, when you write down your visions and whatever, you don't put the cars that you want because you believe they will just come when something else happens. And that's just what it is. When you serve God and you live for God, truly so, then things just fall into place. Like what I told you guys earlier about the whole 12 grand thing. I really didn't know how I didn't know what was going to happen with my life. The only true advice I could ever give to anyone is that life is spiritual. And because the thing is, a lot of Christians also force God down people's throats. And how I usually explain it to people is that if you have a baby, and then you force feed that baby some food, they're going to vomit the food. That's why people reject God. Because we are forcing God down people's throats. So people vomit him, you know. People are like, hey, don't use that you understand? So never force your faith on anyone else, you know. Never ever make that mistake of forcing. You can tell them, oh, no, I'm Christian or whatever, and then let the life that you lead be an example.
Or your testimonies.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing your life with us. Because obviously, I'm sure it hasn't been easy in a sense. Because, hey, it was a bit shaky. But I mean, look at you now.
It's been fun. It's been a fun life, really. If I really think about it and look back, it's been fun. As much as when you're going through a storm, it's like, oh my gosh, you know, when is it going to end? But after the storm, and you look at, because the thing is, a storm usually brings rain, right? And rain makes things grow. So when you look at what has grown from the storm, you're like, hey, you know,
it's actually not that bad.
It's actually not
well,
that
all
bad.
the best with life as a whole.
Thank
the
you.
best with your journey, because I know it doesn't stop here. Because like you said, you know, it's not like there's no destination. It's like a journey. All the best with that, and hopefully, you know, you just keep on growing stronger from this.
Thank you very much. I hope I'll be back someday soon.
All right, well, we'll see about that. We'll see about that. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Please continue to do the most. Share this with your friends. You know, keep on spreading the word. We really appreciate the love and the support. But from us, it's been great. Until next time, bye.